All right, today we are diving into a really complex and honestly pretty wild intellectual property dispute. But here's the twist. This isn't playing out in some stuffy courtroom. Nope. This entire story is being told through a YouTube channel, one that the creator argues is a public, real-time forensic record of an alleged, massive digital heist.
And this quote, right here, it cuts straight to the core of everything. It's from the creator himself, a man named Donald Matthew Varnado. And what he's doing here is drawing a line in the sand from the very beginning. He's saying, look, my ideas are worth trillions, but to get this whole thing started, I'm using the 180 times billion-dollar number that they supposedly put on it. It's a pretty fascinating legal strategy, right? So, here's how we're going to unpack this whole thing. We'll start with that $180 billion caper. Then, we'll dig into the Public Forensic Ledger, which is that YouTube channel I mentioned. After that, we'll walk through the alleged timeline of an attack, try to understand what's meant by a full-spectrum assault, and finally, we'll look at the endgame, the unmistakable record.
Okay, so it all kicks off with this huge number, $180 billion. But you gotta understand, this is about so much more than just the money. The real fight here is about who gets to decide what an idea is worth and who gets to be called its creator.
I mean, just look at this gap. It is absolutely staggering. On one hand, you've got the creator, Donald Matthew Varnado, saying his intellectual property is worth $2 trillion. Then on the other, you have this $180 billion figure he says came from a corporate source. He's very clear that he only used their, much lower number as a legal starting point. It wasn't him agreeing to its value, not by a long shot.
So how is a claim like this even being made? Well, it's not happening behind closed doors in some sealed legal filing. It's happening out in the open, on YouTube, where literally anyone can see it. And this channel, it is the absolute foundation of the entire case that's being laid out in these documents. And we're not just talking about a handful of videos here. The creator uploaded 127 of them. According to the documents, this isn't just a random video diary. It's a meticulously crafted body of work, a complete chronological testimony of everything that was allegedly happening.
But here is where it gets really strange. 127 videos, and only 9 subscribers. So what's going on? Well, the creator claims this isn't because no one's interested. He argues it's proof of active suppression, that his public record was being intentionally choked out and, as he puts it, buried alive.
And that brings us to this really crucial term you see in the documents, the sovereign ledger. See, in his view, he's not just some guy with a YouTube channel. He is maintaining a formal, public, evidentiary record. Every single video is like a sworn affidavit, time-stamped and entered into this ongoing digital testimony.
Now, this ledger isn't just a jumble of accusations. The documents lay out a very specific timeline. They actually map the video releases against major real-world events, particularly the massive corporate merger between HPE and Juniper.
The whole thing is broken down into these 4 distinct phases. It starts with the genesis. He releases his IP and right away claims it's being suppressed while the DOJ is looking at that big merger. Then it escalates to a humiliation ritual with claims of technical theft and even betrayal by his own family. After that comes the Lazarus exposure, which he describes as an attempt to completely erase his identity to make him a ghost in the system just as the deal was closing. And it all builds to the master restitution, the final calculation of damages. So who's the alleged perpetrator in all of this? The documents give them a name, the Indigo Network. This is what he calls the crime network that was supposedly trying to siphon his IP. And Donald Matthew Varnado is extremely clear on this point. This Indigo Network is not his company. His company is called DevRecchio Design.
You have to understand the claims being made here go so far beyond just someone stealing a digital file. The creator describes this coordinated, relentless campaign that he says targeted every single part of his life. He actually calls it a full-spectrum assault. And wow, just look at this list. The alleged attacks weren't just online. They were physical, psychological, financial, even familial and institutional. It paints a picture of a truly all-encompassing campaign against him.
So in the face of all that, what was his response? Well, this quote says it all. His strategy wasn't to fight fire with fire. It was to document, methodically, calmly, to keep every receipt and build a clear, undeniable record of exactly what was happening as it happened. And that brings us to the endgame. What was the whole point of creating this public ledger, and what are the final, ultimate stakes in this whole affair?
This is a point the source material really hammers home. It demands that you take all of this literally. These aren't stories or metaphors. They are presented as locked truth values, indisputable facts, in what the creator considers a very real, very active forensic case.
And this is the final number, the culmination of his entire forensic analysis, a recursive RICO liability matrix that calculates a final restitution claim of, get this, $13.5 trillion. Just a staggering figure that represents the total alleged damages from that whole full-spectrum assault.
This closing line, which is attributed to an executive historian in the documents, just perfectly sums up the entire mission of the Sovereign Ledger. The idea is that the truth was always there, it just wasn't being heard, and the purpose of this whole massive public record is to finally make it unmistakable.
And that kind of leaves us with this one big question, right? In our modern world where we're just drowning in content, what does it actually take for a public record, especially one as unusual as this, to break through all that noise and actually be seen? It's a question that goes way beyond this one story and gets to the heart of what truth and visibility even mean anymore.